This is a miniature I painted a few months ago. You might have seen it here, 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 or even here. And while people seem to really like it, there is one dirty secret I haven't told anyone. It took over $600 worth of Warhammer just to build it. So today, I'm gonna show you the completely unreasonable process behind this project and what are all the different bits and pieces I used along the way. And maybe, if you're just as crazy, you might use some of these ideas yourself. So, you see this Archon miniature right here? So good, you might as well get him twice. You see, there is actually a good reason to do this. Well, 3 reasons. Using a proxy unpainted model, I can easily position it on the base, while the other one is being painted. And that was very important to me in this case, because the light situation is more complex, and by keeping the two separate, it makes the workflow easier. Additionally, do you see this bit right here? Well, it was very convenient to use it on top of my painting handle, but at the same time, it was the core part of the base itself. So the second model solves it for me. And last but not least, I also bought it just in case I destroyed any of the bits. You see, the helmet has been modified and I've sculpted the ears. Just compare it to the original and you'll see it right away. And because I am not that proficient at sculpting, having an extra helmet made me worry a bit less. And sure, by themselves those reasons might not be enough, but together, it just made sense. At least for me. Now of course, the idea here was to create a scene where the Archon captures the soul of this half-dead guardian. So let's test different positions. For that, I am using white tag and the other essential bits. As you can see, if I strip this project to its bare minimum, I would still need this dead Eldar Guardian and the soul effect. The first bit is from Lilith Hesperax, thank you very much. And since this guy already looks like he has no soul left in his body, I used a regular Guardian helmet from the original box. And since you can already see me position the soul energy in the right way, you might be wondering, where did I get that? Well, let me introduce you to Darkwater. Specifically, this lady right here. Essentially, I just cut off the flowing water from her jug, and that's about it. But figuring all of that out is just half the battle. The other one is positioning, because I want the soul to be right under his hand. One way to do it is building up some verticality. That gives me more space and more opportunity to show off the miniature. Because remember, you don't want the terrain to obscure your model. After all, it's the miniature itself that's the star of the show. Once I knew my composition, it was time to anchor it. I am just using white milliput, nothing special really. And since it allows you to form it, you have a bit of time to adjust the position. And if you wonder why am I stabbing the plinth here, well, it owed me money, and the debt is overdue, and I can't let myself look weak in front of other plinths. On serious note, it makes it easier for anything to stick better to the surface. The milliput will have better grip, and so will the other bits. Once the milliput is in place, it's a matter of pushing in the ruins. I really appreciate this bit because it's super convenient for the Archon to stand there. Yes, I could have sculpted a simpler rock, but Craftworld ruins fit the whole scene much better. And yet again, before the milliput is fully dry, I have the opportunity to push stuff around. Okay, now comes the most sensitive part of the process. You see, I need to stick the soul to the helmet, but ideally, I need the option to move it ever so slightly. And to do that, I'll use a combination of multiple glues. First, I've used a super glue. It is universal and probably the best option for these fiddly bits. You can also adjust the position until it's dry, but that will hurt its bonding power. So later, I also applied a bit of plastic glue around it, so I don't have to get up at 3 AM just to check it still holds. And since I was super happy with this exact composition, it was time to make it even sturdier. There will be more bits coming on top anyway, so using this kinda milliput padding creates room for it. Perhaps I could have used more superglue and some texture paste at this point, but that's much softer. And on this channel, we hate soft things, it shows weakness. What comes next is probably the most blasphemous thing I've done. You see this part right here? Do you recognize it? Well, of course you do, it's from Avatar of Cain, and I'll proceed to completely obliterate it for my Archon. I treat it like a Kit Kat bar, just break it apart and share it with your friends. Well, one friend in this case. This part was quite satisfying. It was like building a Lego set, only more dangerous given all the clipping and cutting. On the other hand, I couldn't help myself to feel a bit wrong, perhaps a bit naughty if you will. I'm using all these bits for a single project and the rest might be wasted. But as long as I am happy with the result, I think it justifies it. At the end of the day, the time I spend on it is more precious than the plastic. On another note, I should mention that the full in-depth process is gonna be covered on Patreon. So if you wonder how I painted anything on this miniature, check the link in the description. Okay, time to add some more bits. This is a leg of an incubi. You know, these guys. But the leg is not the interesting part here, it's actually the thorn. I know that Drukhari are already spiky enough, but that doesn't stop me from adding even more spikes now, does it? So after cleaning the mold lines, which, Jesus Christ, was a pain in the ass, I simply cut it off to use for my Archon. I'm sure those incubi will forgive him anyway. Now, you could have noticed the various gaps between the ruins. And for some of those, that doesn't really make sense. So the plan here is to A, connect it, and B, sculpt some rocks to fill the empty space. The problem is, I don't know how to sculpt shit. The last thing I tried to sculpt is this panda squig. And do I need to say more? So let's see how I handle it. First, I'll connect the ruins. This is just a matter of adding more milliput and roughly matching the general shape. As long as you don't do anything crazy, it should work. The bits that are there do most of the heavy lifting anyway, so it's not too difficult. And about those rocks. Along the process, I had an epiphany. It was as if the Emperor himself whispered in my ear. That sounds way more sexual than I thought, what the f***? Anyway, I realized that not only can I sculpt the rocks, I can also carve them. It's one of the great advantages of using milliput. Once it's dry, you can sand it, carve it, whatever. The material is quite flexible. I still try to get it right on the first try, but if I don't, it's not a problem. We also didn't change the dollar value in a bit, so let's fix that. These tiny stones are from Zarbak's Git's Underworld's Warband. And before you write an angry comment that I am just taking a piss at this point, I just had these laying around, so it's not that much of a waste. And as I am pushing it around on the surface, you could have noticed this gemstone just laying there. And that is another bit from Avatar of Cain. I think it's a really nice touch. It'll look like the Archon raided this craft world and he's taken all sorts of different treasures, the gemstones being part of it. But of course we already counted Avatar of Cain, so go back. As I'm adding even more superglue, you'll see another gemstone at the back. I really wanted the base to be interesting. There has to be some eye candy from all angles. And using these shiny bits will certainly help with that. Going forward, I mostly smooth out the edges and sculpt some rocks with milliput. One trick that I like is using my older brushes for this kind of job. If you add some water into your milliput, it's soft enough to be shaved by a brush. And after a bit more sculpting, the base looks like this. I've also dropped in a few more thorns and this little triangle piece which represents Guardian Defenders. In total, it required around $660 to build, and we haven't even painted anything in this video. But that's coming in the future, so subscribe so you don't miss it. Until then, if you wanna push your painting to the next level, watch this video next because it'll help you with that. And see you there!